We hear a lot of rubbish in the news and online about heat pumps. So much that they've become this mythical technology that only works in homes that are so well insulated they don't really need any heating system. Well, I hope you can see from my videos about life with a heat pump in a Victorian terrace house that that assumption isn't quite true. So what we need is a quick way to know whether our homes are ready for heat pumps. And if homes are not quite ready, to know what would need changing. Well, now we're heading towards autumn, we might be switching our heating systems on, which might mean we can answer that question. And here is how. So heat pumps provide heat to a home in the same way as gas boilers, through pipes and radiators or underfloor heating. So we can use those pipes and radiators to imitate how a heat pump would operate. So what would that mean? First, some background. One of the key differences between fossil gas boilers and heat pumps is the temperature of the hot water that we provide to pipes and radiators. Often fossil gas boilers are set up to provide water at 80 degrees C to the radiators, for the water to return at 60 degrees C to the boiler. If a boiler has been set up efficiently, this could be 60 degrees C to the radiators and 40 degrees C back to the boiler. If a boiler has been set up with the best controls, it may have what we call weather compensation. And weather compensation varies the temperature of the radiators depending on what the weather is doing outside, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So it's saying how much heat does a home actually need depending on the temperature outside. But normally, boilers will be set up at a set temperature just to keep it at that temperature for as long as you have the heating on or until the thermostat reaches the temperature that you want it to be. And it'll be set at 80 degrees or 60 degrees or somewhere in between. And the radiators tend to be sized so that if they received water at 80 or 60, they provide sufficient heat to the room. A heat pump, on the other hand, can provide heat to radiators up to 55 degrees C. Some could maybe get up to 60 degrees C and some even higher. But at the highest temperatures, we lose some efficiency from the heat pump. So with heat pumps, we want to keep the radiator temperature down as low as possible whilst maintaining comfort in the home. Heat pumps will keep you warm. And we tend to do this by using weather compensation on the systems. So on a mild day in autumn, let's imagine it's 10 degrees outside, we may still need some heating to get to 21 degrees inside, but we don't need the heating running as hard as possible. So the heat pump would provide water to the radiators at, let's assume, 35 degrees C, and that would keep us comfortable on that day. But at 0 degrees outside on a winter's eve, we may need a bit more heat. So the heat pump would provide water to the radiators at, let's assume, 45 degrees C, or maybe 50 degrees C. The heat pump would run at a temperature that ensures we're providing enough heat, but maximizing efficiency at the same time. So how could we imitate these settings or these flow temperatures with a boiler to understand whether we're heat pump ready? Well, we could do a couple of things. First, we need to drop the flow temperature to the radiators. We could spend a bit of money to get weather compensation controls fitted on our existing boiler, but we don't need to. Instead, we could just set the flow temperature of the boiler to be 45 degrees C. This would imitate a heat pump operating efficiently and show you whether your heating system is ready to have a heat pump. If you don't know how to do this, there's loads of resources online. I'll link to some good ones below. The second thing you need to do could be to change your timings on the heating system. So if you're someone that has the heating on in the morning for, let's say, an hour, and then off during the day, and then on again in the evening for a few hours, setting the boiler to 45 degrees C flow temperature will mean your home takes a little bit longer to heat up, which may give you the impression that it isn't working, although it may just be taking longer to get to the temperature that you're used to. So you may need to extend your heating timers a little bit. Maybe bring them on an hour or half an hour before you would normally to give the system a chance to work. This won't add to your gas use, as heating is a little bit like distance. For example, if you drove 10 miles at 60 miles an hour, it would take 10 minutes. But if you drove at 30 miles an hour, it would take 20 minutes. You're still going 10 miles in distance, but it just takes a little bit longer. And this is a little bit similar to heating. If you provided 10 kilowatts of heat to a house for half an hour, it would be providing the same heat as if you provided 5 kilowatts of heat for an hour. It would be providing 5 kilowatt hours. A heat pump needs to run longer because it doesn't have the pedal to the metal like a boy racer. It's trundling along like a cautious driver. The last thing I would say about settings is if you use thermostatic radiator valves, those twisty valves on the edge of a radiator, is during this test is to open them as full as possible. We want to give out as much heat as we can, even at these lower temperatures. So now you've changed the flow temperature at the boiler, and you might have changed the timings on the heating system. You are imitating a heat pump's performance. And as the days get colder, you can take note of how the system is performing. Which rooms are a little bit colder than you'd be used to? Take a note. And then when we get to the coldest days, the kind of days where you see snow outside or snow on the news, 45 degrees C may not be enough. If 45 degrees C isn't enough, then this is suggesting what work would be needed in order to get a heat pump. And yeah, you should absolutely increase the flow temperature up to 55 or 60 degrees so that you're comfortable. But do take note of what you'll notice. And as the weather gets warmer again, put it back down to imitate a heat pump again. This all could be showing you that some radiators in some rooms are not big enough. And that may mean that they need replacing to have a heat pump installed. It could be showing you that you really need to insulate the loft a bit better, or replace some windows, or do some work to repair that drafty window, or that damp wall, or that leaky door. What it doesn't mean, if it's not quite working as you hoped, what it doesn't mean is your home isn't ready to have a heat pump. It may be on those coldest days that your home is still warm enough with the boiler running at 45 degrees C. And if so, you've proved it, you're basically heat pump ready. And there's a mini bonus here alongside it. If you've gone through autumn and a lot of winter at 45 degrees C, you will have maximized the efficiency of your boiler, and you will reduce your fossil gas use by 5, even 10%. And you'll have reduced the wear and tear on the boiler, which is a bonus. It's fantastic. So, what do you think? Are you ready to experiment? Why not make some changes now the heating season is upon us, and see where you get to? I'd love to hear how you get on. Please do comment below.